You know, I realize that we're all kind of disappointed with the ZRs and stuff, but the one thing that I can complain about that you guys can't is that they disturb my goddamn set breakdown layout. Hello and welcome everyone! Today we're going to be breaking down the brand new G-BT13 Ultimate Stride. It has a lot of nice stuff and way too many foils for Aqua Force. Some of you may think that's a good thing, some of you may not. And it also introduces the new Ultimate Stride mechanic, but it's not really that much of a new mechanic, it's just a different way to pay for Stride and has more of a flashy effect on the turn that you actually use it, but after that it kind of burns your G-zone, so you gotta be a little bit careful. So, normally we would do this in terms of clans, but now before we get into the clans, we're just gonna go over both of the ZRs first. This video, I don't know, this set breakdown might be a bit longer because of that, I'm not sure, but I kind of feel like I've said most of the things that I wanted to say about them in the should you play ZRs, like, are they necessary videos, so if you haven't checked that out yet, then you should, because I talk about a lot of important things in that video, and in case you're still not sure if you should be picking them up or not, then you might want to check that out. So, without any further ado, we're gonna get into the first ZR, which is the Zeroth Dragon of Inferno, Drachma. First of all, we do have the text that describes what you do for Ultimate Stride in English. So, released when the number of face-up cards in your G-zone is 3 or more! Exclamation mark. When it returns to the G-zone, remove your G-zone. So, yes, and also exclamation mark, my bad. And then Stride Step, instead of choosing just any grade 3, you have to discard the same card with the exact same name as your Vanguard, instead of just any grade 3, so you just have to essentially Persona drop as a Stride fodder. So, next up we do have the actual skill. When you do Stride Mr. Drachma, you counterblast 2. If you do, you retire all of your opponent's units, bind them face up, and your opponent chooses 3 cards from their hand, discards 2 of them, and then rides 1 from among them on Vanguard as stand. And then there's a little explanation in the brackets. Retire the Vanguard, and if your opponent has no cards in their hand, he or she rides from the soul. If your opponent has no cards in their soul and no cards in their hand, then they straight up lose, because that's how the game works. So, I already talked about my thoughts on this guy in the Are They Necessary video. I think almost every clan has different ways to finish the game, because this in the end is a finisher. It's a very flashy finisher. Also, I should mention this has 25 plus power, 25k plus, not 15k plus like normal strides. That's just the thing with the ZRs. So, it's also another thing that changed since then is that the ZR pull ratios are higher in the second printing of the set. So they were like 1 of each in the per case in the first printing, and now in the second printing they're like there's 4 of them per case. So there's like 3, like in one case that we saw on Twitter there was like 3 drachmas, 1 Megiddo that we'll get into later. But that's looking good. It's definitely improving, so they are listening. But honestly, like, he is strong. He does essentially force your opponent to mill 3, and it forces your opponent to play around it for the entire game, so they have to keep saving a grade 3 in their hand. There is some interesting bluff plays you can do where, like, you can use the Destiny to flip one of your drachmas if you're, like, insanely rich and you can afford to. And so then the opponent stops playing around Drachma, and then they get a little bit cocky, and they start calling their grade 3s, or actually dropping them for Stride. And then you suddenly just whip out your second Drachma, and they're like, oh shit, I thought you were already done with it. And, you know, that's kind of the way you can catch them off guard. But, like, okay, one other thing I have to say before we continue this discussion of ZRs, honestly, this could be a video of its own, but I said this in the past video as well, but if you are someone that aims to win locals every single time. If you're someone that wants to top cut every single regional and go to worlds, then you're gonna need ZRs. No matter what, you're gonna need ZRs because they are an option in a game where the options are the ones that can really decide the game in a highly competitive environment. So, you know, it's like kind of like whether you need Sabreeze or not. Like, sure, some decks don't need it, some decks do. If you can't afford it, you'll probably be fine, but there will be situations where you'll be like, oh, I wish I had my Sabreeze. And it's kind of the same with both Drachma and Megiddo and the upcoming Zo as well. There are situations where you'll be fine with anything else, but the ZRs are a panic button, and at some times there will be nothing better than going to the ZR. So if you're super competitive, like, I'm not going to tell you not to get them because you need them. Like, you will need them. They might not be good anymore after, like, let's say 6 or 7 or 8 months, because we're going to be moving out to a new generation of Vanguard, and these might just become obsolete. They might also get reprinted in the Gize pack. We don't know that either. So it's up to you if you want to get them now or wait a bit. You know, like that's the choice that you're going to have to make. But, you know, whether you need them or not is like, if you're super competitive, you get them. If you're someone that just plays the game for fun and you just want to enjoy it with your friends, then you can easily go without them. At least without Drachma. So I think Drachma is overall a strong card. Like, on paper, he's obviously very strong. I think the demerit of, like, if you fail to finish the game when you Ultimate Stride is kind of big. So I don't know if it's that worth it, because then you're losing, like, I mainly focus on Kagero, but it's kind of like every clan. It stands the same, like you just lose all your strides, and it's just a little bit unfortunate. So there's that. But now moving on, we have Mr. Xerath Dragon of Distant Sea Megiddo. So again, same condition. This time his skill is, when you stride him, you counterblast 2. If you do, you choose up to 5 cards in total from your hand or drop zone, call them to separate rearguard circles, and until end of turn they get plus 5k power, and the skill, at the end of the battle of this unit attacked, you choose one of your other rearguards and you may exchange positions with this unit. So that's a very Aqua Force-like skill, that last one. This, in my opinion, is really good for the clans that it supports. Like, for the clans that this will be used in, it's just ridiculously good. So I've talked to both Grand Blue players and Bermuda players and Aqua Force players, and they've all told me the same thing, that some of the combos that they can make with this guy are actually ridiculous. And I don't blame them for saying that, because it's actually true. Like, Megiddo is genuinely strong, and for some reason he's the cheaper one, which kind of baffles me. But, you know, I guess it's just because the clans aren't as played, even though Bermuda is, like, insanely popular, and Aqua Force and Grand Blue are too, but I don't know. Like, I don't really know how this is supposed to work. But Megiddo is actually properly strong, and I think even if you're a more casual player that has the job to afford a Megiddo, I think, like, whether it's like between getting a random meme deck and actually buying a Megiddo, I would maybe even suggest buying the Megiddo, just because it is actually a really nice card. It opens up some combos. It's a panic button that actually can close out games really easily. So it's not just a finisher, but it can, like, it's a finisher with a really high reach, I would say. Like, you have other strides that have almost as much reach, but this has just a little bit more for now. Just for now. I think, you know, the game's gonna keep evolving and these will become obsolete eventually, but it's definitely, like, it's a good stride. I can't say anything else. It is a good stride, but if you're not a hyper-competitive player, then you don't really have to bother with it. The clan you play already has good strides to begin with. So that's all for the ZRs. The only other non-clan card we have is the new G-Guard that's a Cray Elemental, which is Mixed Element Colburn, and his skill is, when you guard with him, during the battle that your opponent's Vanguard attacked, you discard 1 card, and if you do this, unit gets plus 5k shield until end of battle for every 2 cards in your opponent's hand. So this is good against pretty much most of the meta decks, especially stuff like Chaos that will always have a pretty big hand. Luard is still around and usually has a pretty big hand. Overlord has been kind of, at least from my experience at tournaments, it tends to have a pretty big hand. So this will be pretty good against pretty much everything. You kind of, like, if you're going to use it, then you kind of want to use it in scenarios where you're going to be able to pump up by at least 15k shield, so like when your opponent has 6 cards in hand, that way you're kind of breaking even for how much you discarded in a way. So, but obviously the more the merrier, and you know, that's only going to help, so it's kind of like to help you get back from being behind. So it is a pretty good G-Guard for a Cray Elemental. And now finally, let's get into the clans. And as always, we're going to take this in order of my least favorite clans to most favorite clans in the set, so we're going to be starting off with Spike Brothers. So, Spike Brothers did get 1 reprint in this set, which was Dudley Geronimo, or at least the special reprint type, and then it did not get a single triple rare, but, however, it did get a couple of double rares, or well, 3 to be more precise, the first one of which is Giant Rising Great Star. So, Giant is his actual name. So, he has charge, and when he is ridden or called, you may counterblast 1 and choose a card from your hand and put it into your soul. If you do, you search your deck for up to 1 grade 2 or less card with a charge ability, call it to an open rearguard circle, shuffle your deck, and if this unit is charging, this unit gets plus 3k until end of turn. So that second part is going to be good for when he's on rearguard circle, but not so much when he's on Vanguard circle, because you're probably going to be striding on top of him. But he's kind of alright, because he essentially just does what you would expect him to do. He doesn't call grade 3s though, so you can't really do any of the Hive Maker shenanigans with him, or at least not pull out Hive Maker with him. That's the unfortunate part. But regardless, it's still quite nice. The second skill is a GB2 on Vanguard Circle. At the end of each turn, so that also includes your opponent's, if the number of your rearguards is 2 or less, choose one of your rearguards and you may put into your soul. If you do, draw a card. So the nice part of that is that you can, if you have 2 at the end of your turn, you just boop into the soul, draw 1. And then if you have just 1 left at the end of your opponent's turn, if they didn't retire it by whatever skills, then you can slide it into the soul and draw yourself a card as well. So that's kind of nice. It does help accelerate your soul and your combos. And honestly, the units that you left on there are probably not going to be that necessary anymore anyway. So we're going to keep going over the charge cards, and then we're going to go into like the generics in between, and then the Dudley stuff at the end. So the second charge card we have is Prompt Cheetah. So it does have charge, and the skill that when this charging unit attacks a Vanguard, it gets +5 cancel in that battle. At the end of that battle, you may Soul Blast one. If you do, you bind it face up and call this unit to an open rearguard circle in rest. Now, I like the wording of it because it's just a 14k attacker, and then you may Soul Blast one if you want to do the rest, but I don't really understand. I hope someone in the comments can explain to me, like, what's the actual use of binding him, well, paying your Soul Blast just to bind him and call him in rest, because, I don't know, I don't really see it as much. It might be just to interact with the new Rising, in that, like, you can just, you know, put it into Soul afterwards, but I don't know. For me, this doesn't seem that great, apart from the fact that it's a free 14k attacker on GB1. Next up, we have Laser Blackguard. He has charge and GB1 continuous rearguard circle skill. If this unit is charging, he has +5k, so again, a 14k attacker on charge. And when this charging unit is put into your deck from rearguard circle, you can counterblast 1 and choose a card from your hand and put it into your soul. And if you do, then you search your deck for up to 1 non-grade 2 card with a charge ability and call it to an open rearguard circle other than the rearguard circle this unit was on, and shuffle your deck. So kind of weird, because like you can't, even though he's not there anymore, that like empty circle is like occupied by his own skill. So that's a bit unfortunate, but I guess it's just there not to create any crazy combos. But you can search both grade 1s and grade 3s with this skill, and obviously grade 0s too if you wish, but it doesn't allow grade 2s, but that shouldn't be too big of a deal. Next, we have a card that was revealed at the CRC, which is a pretty popular French unofficial tournament. So that's like a huge step in the right direction, that Bushiroad is allowing unofficial tournaments to do card reveals. Like, that's a really, really good thing for the future. So his name is Fake Bomber, and he does have charge. And if this unit is charging, this unit gets +5k, and the skill that when this unit boosts, if you have a Vanguard with Rising in its name, you can Soul Blast 2. If you do, choose a card from your hand and call it to an open rearguard circle and countercharge 1. So this is a really nice grade 1. Like, not only does it give you extra attacks from your hand, but that's not a big deal, but it also countercharges 1. It does eat up a little bit more soul, but don't forget that also that 5k that it gets is also free, and you don't have to pay anything for it, and it's not on GB1 either. So honestly, this is a really, really nice card. Up next, we have a couple of guys that interact with each other. So first we have Jet Power Dusty, and then we have his friend Jet Motor Dusty. So they both have charge, and Dusty's skill is when he's boosted. If he's charging on GB1, he gets +5 cancel on that battle, so he's 13. Then if he was boosted by Dusty, then your opponent cannot intercept until the end of that battle. And then Dusty's skill is also charge. He has 6k power, but when he boosts the rearguard with the charge ability, this unit gets +3k, so it's 9, and then together they're going to be making a total of 22, I believe. So, and then if the boosted unit is Dusty, then you can have it become charging even if it wasn't like played by the charge skill, so that's definitely quite cool. Next, Charge did get a new starter in Prospective Starkey. So he does have charge, and then if he's charging, continuous rearguard circle, not on GB1, all of your charging units get +2k, and this unit gets, when this unit is put into your deck from your rearguard circle, countercharge 1. So pretty good, because you can make him charging through a different skill that isn't on GB1, and then you'll be giving everything +2k, not on GB1, and you get to countercharge at some point, so it's like really, really nice. I don't think it's better than Mecha Trainer, but it's definitely not bad enough to just write it off. And the final charge card that we have is Mecha Instructor. So this is a stand trigger which has charge, and when this unit is put into your deck from rearguard circle, you may choose a card from your hand and put it into your soul. If you do choose one of your rearguards, bind it face up and call that card to an open rearguard circle. This is actually quite nice because it can actually just reset something, and then if it has a on-call skill, then you can reset that too. So it's definitely not that bad, and you can also proc charge. So this is honestly a pretty good stand trigger. And now, because there's really not that many of them, I'm just going to combine the Dudleys and the generic cards together, because honestly, like, the Dudley card is also, like, it's not even, like, necessarily Dudley, it works generically. So first of all, we have Blackhorn King Bull Power Agrias. So when he attacks, you make counterblast 1 and flip, Persona Flip. If you do, you choose any number of your rear guards and bind them face up. If you bound 3 or more, you draw a card and choose up to 2 cards from your bind zone for each card face up in your G zone and call them to separate open rear guard circles. So if you do this for a stride, then you're going to be binding 3 and getting back 2 and drawing 1, so you do lose 1 rear guard circle, 1 rear guard in the bind zone. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but if you do it in any other point, then you're going to be able to do more than that. So even if you leave 1 in there, you'll be able to get it back in like second stride if you use them again, so it's definitely quite nice, and I think it's actually a pretty good stride as well. Next, every single clan got these, but we're still gonna take a look at them because of the new thing, which is the effect heals, and the Spike Brothers one does have Dudley in the name, so this is Dudley Cheers Lindsay, meaning that you can search this out with jelly beans if I'm not mistaken, so that's pretty nice. So, every single heal has the exact same skill. You bind this card face up and choose another card with heal from your drop zone and bind it face up. So you bind 2 heals face up, one of them has to be this one. When this card is discarded for the cost of calling a G-Guardian, you may do that. So if you do, you either countercharge 1 or you soul charge 1. And this is really nice because in a lot of clans, you're going to be wanting to do one or the other. Sometimes both, but you're going to have to choose. But like this really fulfills at least one of the things that your deck wants to be doing, and that's really, really cool. The only other thing that's worth mentioning is that this doesn't have the skill of like you can only have 4 heals in your deck, which every other heal does have. So that's kind of interesting, but as long as they don't print another heal that doesn't have that effect, we'll be okay, because the moment they do that, then we'll be running around with more than 4 heals, and that's going to become a problem. So, but for now it's okay, but it's just kind of interesting that they, I don't know if they forgot it, or if it's just, you know, on purpose. Next we have Power Flicker. In my opinion isn't a very good card, but we can go over it anyway. At the end of the battle this unit attacked, you may counterblast 1 if you're on GB1. If you do, choose up to 1 card from your hand and call to an open rearguard circle. Until end of turn, it gets plus 2k, and if this unit is on your Vanguard circle, that called unit gets another plus 2k. So it's kind of okay because you can just call something out from hand. Sure, it makes combos, and that part I like. It can create a combo, and it's just a multi-attacker that you can go into. I think that part is good. I don't like that if this unit is on your Vanguard circle, give it another plus 2k. Like, that's kind of useless. At least it's not on hit, so it's actually not that bad. It's probably going to be a one-of. It's kind of similar to like Hivemaker in a way. It's just that, yeah, I guess it's essentially like Hivemaker. I just don't think it's more than a one-of in charge decks, so that's about it. But it doesn't restrict itself to charge, so that's also quite nice. And then the final card that we have is Dudley Schemer, who again does technically have Dudley in the name, but is simply just a put this card into your soul and then give something else plus 3k, kind of draw trigger clone. So it's not really a Dudley card, it just has the Dudley name, so you can, you know, play it in your Dudleys, but you can also play it in everything else. So that wraps up the Spike Brothers section. Next clan will be Murakumo, which I honestly think is kinda slept on, in my opinion, because some of these new cards are actually genuinely really good. The first one of which is Dharma, Deity of the 5 Precepts, Yasuya Gemma. So he has an act once per turn, Soul Blast 1, and Persona Flip. Choose a card from your rearguard circle or drop zone, search for up to 1 card with the same card name as that card from your deck, call it to rearguard circle, shuffle your deck, and at the end of that turn return that called unit to your hand. This is already really cool because it copies from drop zone, potentially. It's really nice for that, so you don't have to have anything on the field, potentially. You can just kind of like create, essentially superior call a copy from your drop zone, which is really nice. The GB3, however, is a Shadow Stitch. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked a Vanguard, if that attack did not hit, choose up to 5 of your units and they get plus 5k and plus 1 crit. That part is actually ridiculous because you do have back row attackers in this clan. It is quite well known for that. So with this GB3, if the Vanguard doesn't hit, so like if you use this when they're at 4 and they either have to gamble on you not checking a crit, or they have to PG it and then deal with 5 other attacks that have crits on them and may have, you know, just more than just 16k on them too. So that's pretty damn scary. I think this as a stride is really, really strong. So I don't know, like it feels kind of slept on, but this is a really, really, really strong card. So we're gonna keep going through the Yasuya stuff. There's also Shirayuki support in this set, as well as the generic stuff, but first we'll get Yasuya out and over with. So, next we have Stealth Rogue of Revenge Oboshi. So, when he is chosen, due to the effects of your opponent's card, you choose up to 2 of your cards in your circles other than Vanguard or Guardian Circle, and return them to your deck. If you returned 1 or more cards, you search your deck for up to 2 Oboshi, call them to separate rearguard circles, and shuffle your deck. I forgot to mention, but this is the set where we start countering Link Joker, because technically the new Harry Stride isn't quite out yet in English. So, this skill does target your circles, meaning that you can target your rearguard circle and return it to your deck. If that rearguard circle has a locked card, you can still return it to the deck because it doesn't target the unit, therefore it overrides lock. So that's really cool. You can get rid of 2 locks at a time, which is pretty nice, but even then, this is still a nice card because if something gets retired, then you can still just pop out 2 of these and just like, hello, like, you're not really going to be killing much because I keep getting things out of here. So it's really nice, and also like the 2 Oboshis that you get called will stay as well, because you do return the units that are chosen by effects, but the Oboshis that you call will stay on the field, so that's quite nice, essentially plus as well. And then his second skill is a Shadow Stitch GB2 once per turn. At the end of the battle that your other unit attacked the Vanguard and that attack didn't hit, if you have a Vanguard with Yasuya in its card name, until end of turn, this unit can attack from the back row and it gets plus 7k on top of that. So, combined with the new Yasuya, this is a 21k attacker from the back with an extra crit, so that's super good. It is a once per turn, but you know, you can use once per turn on every single unit, so that's pretty nice. So they essentially will have to let at least one of them hit to not trigger this effect. So this is really cool. Like I'm saying, I feel like people are sleeping on this because it's actually a really good card. Next, we do have a reprint of Ataka, so this is the Stride Fodder for Murakumo. And then next we have a new grade 3 in Furious Hair Stealth Fiend Ikkaku, and his hair is definitely looking pretty furious. So he has a skill that when he's called or ridden, you choose a card in your circle other than Vanguard Circle and you may put it on the bottom of your deck. If you do this, unit gets plus 5k till end of turn. Once again, this does override lock because it targets circles, so that's also quite nice. Next, he does have a Shadow Stitch ability on Vanguard Circle and Rearguard Circle on GB1. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked the Vanguard. If the attack didn't hit, you may counterblast 1. If you do, choose a grade 2 or 1 card from your drop zone, search your deck for up to 1 card with the same card name as that card, call it to Rearguard Circle and that this unit is not on, and shuffle your deck. At the end of that turn, put the unit on the bottom of your deck. So putting it on the bottom of the deck isn't that bad because you copied it from drop zone, so like that's like you're not really like you're essentially just spawning something out of nowhere. So like normally I would say like, oh, I wish it would go back to hand, but honestly in this case it's kind of alright. Plus he does counter Link Joker too, so he's not that bad. I'm not sure if you have space for him though, but just like on paper he's definitely not that bad. Next we have Stealth Fiend of Enmity, Sodehagi. So he has a GB2 once per turn Shadow Stitch on Rearguard Circle. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked the Vanguard and the attack didn't hit. You counterblast 1 and choose one of your other Sodehagi from your Rearguard Circle and put it on the bottom of your deck. If you do, then you stand him and he gets plus 5k until end of turn. Pretty cool, but you do have to essentially get rid of a copy of him, so that's what, you know, prevents this from going. I mean, it couldn't go infinite regardless because it's once per turn, but it's definitely not a bad ability. But you know, you can just do it on every single one, but you just have to be careful with the timings because like if they let your first one not hit and then you don't, like you wouldn't use the effect there because you still have standing ones that you still want to attack with, and then if they just like let the next one hit, then you won't be able to use it, and then it's kind of like a bit of a waste, I guess, but still not a bad card. I like the concept of it, but I just thought I would mention it for that. Next we have Stealth Beast Instant Swapper. Shadow Stitch, Rearguard Circle, GB1. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked the Vanguard. If the attack didn't hit, you may counterblast 1 and retire him if you're on GB1. If you do, you search your deck for up to 1 card with the same card name as your Vanguard, call it to Rearguard Circle and shuffle your deck. And at the end of that turn, put that unit called on the bottom of your deck. So, not bad because it just copies your Vanguard, so you're going to get yourself a 11k swing out of this, maybe possibly more, but not sure about that, and it does go on the bottom of your deck, so, you know, but you do retire him, so you open up a slot on the field at least, so it's definitely fairly okay. Next up is, in my opinion, a really nice card, which is Stealth Beast Siren Fox. So has GB1. At the end of the battle, the unit with Yasuya in his card name attacked the Vanguard. If the attack didn't hit, if this unit boosted, you may counterblast 1 and put it into the soul. If you do, you choose one of your units, search your deck for up to 2 cards with the same card name as that unit, call up to separate rearguard circles and shuffle your deck, and at the end of that turn, return one of those called units to your hand and put 1 card from among them on the bottom of your deck. So I like this because it will copy one of your units and then let you have one of them to your hand and put the other one back to your bottom of the deck. This lets you search out like PGs and like Stride Fighters and whatnot, so that's quite nice too. And as well as just like getting a card in your hand is always quite nice, although the condition at which you have to fulfill this is quite specific. You do have to be boosting a Yasuye that doesn't hit, so that is something that you need to keep in mind. Next we have the new starter, which is Disciple Stealth Fiend Minosuke. Skill is, when an attack hits the Vanguard during the battle that this unit boosted a unit with a Shadow Stitch ability, you may put him into your soul, so this time is going the opposite way of Shadow Stitch. If you do, you cannot charge 1, choose up to 1 card with a Shadow Stitch ability from your drop zone, and put it on the bottom of your deck, and if you put a card, then you draw a card. So this is nice, it countercharges, it fills up your soul, it also recycles cards, and also draws a card, so it fills up 4 conditions for no cost, apart from putting him into your soul, which technically, you know, you're going to use later on too, so that's definitely not too bad, and I think this is actually a really nice starter, and plus his art looks really fancy. So quickly go over the generic stuff before we look at the 2 new Shirayuki cards. So first is the Stealth Fiend Tamayuki. So this is once again the exact same effect as the last effect, Heal, but it's just the one for Murakumo. I do like the art a lot though. And the next is Stealth Fiend of Entertainment Senbei. His skills and act once per turn, counterblast 1 and choose a card from your drop zone and put it in the bottom of your deck. Choose 2 of your units and they get, until end of turn, one of them gets minus 5k and one of them gets plus 5k. And at the end of that turn, return this unit to your hand. So this is kind of interesting. It's not on GB12, so you can do this earlier on. So you could potentially like minus 5 from your starter that you don't really need the boost of in like the early stages of the game. I just plus 5 something that actually does to further your aggro. So it's quite interesting, and he goes back to hand, so you can kind of just like safely keep using it. And then he does, as he does go back to hand, he does have a hand skill, which is GB1 Act, Soul Blast 1 and discard him. You choose a card in a circle other than Vanguard circle and put that unit on the bottom of your deck. If you do, draw 2 cards. That is also anti-Link Joker, so you can just quickly Soul Blast 1, drop him, unlock something by putting it on the bottom of your deck, and also draw yourself 2 cards. So, and you also open up one of your rearguard circles finally, so you can actually, you know, just play the goddamn game. So that's pretty nice. I think this is actually a really good card too. It has an interesting skill, and the first one not being GB1 is also quite interesting, but I actually really like him a lot. And then finally, the last generic card is just the draw trigger that puts itself into the soul to give one of your units plus 3k. So we had this with Spike Brothers too, but it's also a good card. So I personally think that Murakumo is being kind of slept on. Like, honestly, a lot of these cards are really, really good, and I feel like in the right hands, this could actually top a couple of tournaments, just because nobody would be expecting it, nor would they really know how to play against it, because everyone just considers it as a rogue deck that has no chance of topping. But in my opinion, this is actually looking pretty solid. And before we wrap up the Murakumo section, let's go over the 2 new Shirayuki cards, first of which is the new Stride, which is Sweetly Smiling Ice Petal Shirayuki. So she has an act once per turn, counterblast 1, and flip any Shirayuki G-unit face up. If you have a hard card with Shirayuki in its card name, choose one of your opponent's units and against minus 5k until end of turn for each face-up card in your G-zone with Shirayuki in its card name. You're most likely going to be targeting the Vanguard, and, you know, you're probably going to be minusing at least, well, I guess on first stride only 5k, but as it goes down, it's just gonna keep going down and down and down. So this lets you like push really aggressively. It's essentially like deleting your opponent's Vanguard, if not worse, because you can actually, you know, pump them by like minus 20, minus 30, minus 40. Is that even possible? Maybe it is. But this first skill is definitely quite nice. It lets you be very aggressive, if the deck is capable of that, of course, because the deck itself is quite defensive. So it's kind of interesting. And then the GB3 is continuous. All your rearguards with Shirayuki and their card names can attack from the back row, which does now answer the question of whether the deck can be aggressive or not, because you can just, you know, drop all your Shirayukis and attack from the back row. Does slightly interfere with the fact that you want to be Persona Blasting a lot with the old Shirayuki, but we'll see how that works out. And then the other new card is 6 Flowers of Phantasms Shirayuki. So both in deck and in hand, she is also regarded as Fantasy Petal Storm Shirayuki, which is the old one. And then her actual other skill is, when this unit attacks or is attacked, you may choose one or more cards with the sum of their grades being 3 or greater from your hand and discard them. I like that cost. That's actually nice because it's not Persona Blast. You can just drop any grade 3 or like a 2 in a 1 or 2 in a 2, etc. And so when you do that, you can choose one of your opponent's Vanguards and it gets minus 10k until end of that battle for each of your units with Shirayuki in its card name. So it's only until end of that battle, not until end of turn, but it's for each Shirayuki, which means it's probably going to be at least 20-30k. On the opponent's turn, that's definitely quite scary. It's essentially like you're discarding a grade 3 to get like a massive G guard or like a massive, or essentially a perfect guard in most cases, I think, because if you can field like 4 Shirayukis, then that's minus 40k. I think even if they, unless it's like a Daiking or something, then you're most likely going to be safe. So both of these cards are definitely quite good, and all in all, I think the Murakumo support in itself is borderline slept on rather, because it is overall just really quite good. It was a bit hard to choose which clan I wanted to do next, but we're gonna have to go with Tachikaze. I do like most of these clans quite a lot, except for maybe Spike Brothers, but even then I like watching like Hellheart 8 being played and whatnot, so it's kind of hard to choose. But anyway, first of all, we did get a reprint of Gaia Emperor, which is a very nice reprint because it wasn't a cheap card. Now all we need is Dogma, and then the deck suddenly becomes a lot cheaper than it would be normally. But the first card of which that we're going to be talking about is the new Destruction Emperor, Gaia Devastate. Once again, yet another slept-on card, but I feel like people aren't sleeping on this one as much as they are sleeping on Murakumo. I think people actually know like what is going on with the Tachikaze stuff, just because there's a much bigger player base for them. So, at first we do have Engorge on him, as expected, and then the skill is when this unit becomes engorged, you may counter +1 and Persona Flip. If you do, you draw a card, then you choose up to any 2 circles other than Vanguard Circle for each face-up card in your G-Zone, and put all cards from those circles into the drop zone. If the number of your cards put into the drop zone is 3 or more, this unit gets plus 10k, +1 crit, and drive +1. So this doesn't just include your own circles, by the way, you also can retire your opponents. So on your side of the field, you want to be retiring at least 3. This includes lock cards. You can retire your own locked cards because it targets circles, but you can essentially retire 3 of your, let's say you have 3 face-up G units, right? So you can retire a total of 6. You can retire 3 of your own, including lock cards, and you can just like pop off 3 random units that your opponent has, and on top of that, you're getting yourself a plus 10k, a +1 crit, and a +1 drive. Sure, this can just ram into a perfect guard, but if it doesn't, then that's quite a lot that you're forcing your opponent to deal with, because you also retired a few units off of their field as well, so that's definitely very cool. But sadly, you won't be getting that second part of the effect if you use this as a first stride, because you do need at least 2 face-up to actually get that 3 or more going. So, you know, it's a really, really good card in my opinion. It counters Link Joker just like that. Like, just don't even have to do anything. Just doing its own thing while countering Link Joker, like holy hell. So definitely really good. And then the next Gaia card that we have is the kind of like, this one was one of the cards that I guess started this other new trend in this set, which is these grade 2 10Ks that interact with the archetype. So here we have Cosmo Lucas. So when he's ridden or called, you choose up to 1 card from your hand and reveal it, and if neither that card nor your Vanguard is a card with Gaia in its card name, this unit gets minus 5k power until end of turn. Meaning that you either have to reveal a Gaia if you don't have a Gaia Vanguard, let's say if you call this on or ride this on turn 2, or you need to be on the Gaia to not have him lose 5k. So you will be 10k if you cannot, like if you don't, so he will be 10k as long as you have a Gaia either in your hand or in your Vanguard circle. Then the second skill is a continuous rearguard circle. If you have a grade 4 Vanguard with Gaia in its card name, this unit gets plus 3k for each face-up card with the Engorge ability in your G-Zone. So it kind of scales up as the game goes on, and obviously does become quite scary in the later stages. But that first part is also quite nice because it is a 10k, which like does have other effects on top of that, but you just have to make sure to have that Gaia in your hand, because otherwise it's just going to be a 5k that gains a bit of power later on, so that is quite important. And it is until end of turn. There was a big ruling debate kind of thing on Card Gamers discussion group. I don't know if you guys are part of that group or not, but it's actually my favorite Vanguard Facebook group. But anyway, there was a discussion on whether you have to have both conditions fulfilled, but like it seems that you only need to have one of them because the skill is until end of turns. Like there's also the discussion like, won't this be 5k on your opponent's turn? But no, because it loses the minus 5k only until the end of your turn, so it should be fine, honestly. So it seems to be just not that complicated, so it's definitely a good effect. Another good card we have is Diablo Cannon, which has Engorge and Continuous Rearguard Circle. If you have a Vanguard with Gaia in its name, this unit gets plus 2k power, so it's an 11k attacker. And then, when this Engorge unit is retired from Rearguard Circle for the effect or cost of your Vanguard with the Engorge ability, you may discard a card from your hand. If you do, you call him to Rearguard Circle and he gets plus 5k, meaning he's a 16k attacker. This is potentially infinite as long as you can keep retiring him, which is quite nice. So just keep on retiring him and he'll keep coming back as a 16k. Obviously it's not infinite because you will run out of cards in hand eventually and run out of ways to retire him eventually, but apart from that it's definitely pretty damn nice. Although technically, you know, you could run this borderline infinitely because they have Engorge. By attacking, you're killing one off, and then you can just keep killing each other off, just like 16 kill, 16 kill, 16 kill, 16 kill, until you run out of cards in hand. But, like, this is a pretty interesting, like, if your opponent's on, like, 4 or 5, you might as well, and, like, if they didn't hit any damage triggers or put up their power in any way, then you might as well just, like, spam this until your opponent just straight up dies. Unless this is somehow, like, supposed to be a Ratad, because the way it is worded now does make it seem that as long as this is being retired for the effector cost of your Vanguard with the Engorge ability, then you can just recall it for a discard on GB1 and it will be a 16k attacker. So I do quite like this guy, honestly, I really do. Next we have a reprint of Prism Bird, which is the Stride Fodder for Gaia, or for Tachikaze, and then the Searcher for Gaia. And then we have a Grade 3 common in Great Cannon Dragon Heavy Arzine. So he has Engorge and GB1 when this Engorged unit is retired from Rearguard Circle for the effector cost of your Vanguard with the Engorge ability, so specifically Vanguard, you may counterblast 1. If you do, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, call up to 2 grade 2 or less from among them to separate Rearguard Circles and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So from top 4 you can call 2 things and then the rest go to the bottom. So this isn't that bad. It's just that like the clan and deck itself doesn't really let you get away with running 1-ups that easily, especially not grade 3s, because you do have both Gaias that you want to run because they're pretty good cards, and so I don't think this is quite as good to be run. Next we have Savage Ranger. This has the Rearguard GB1 skill. When your Vanguard becomes Engorged, you may Soul Blast 2 and retire him. If you do, you draw a card, countercharge 2, and choose up to 2 of your units with the Engorged ability, and they become Engorged until end of turn. So this way you're able to give them the Engorge ability without them actually retiring anything, so that's definitely quite nice because like sometimes you may not want to retire anything, but you still need to be Engorged for the sake of the skill, so then you might be making some plays that you could avoid. So he is quite interesting. I'm not sure if you would see play. I like the fact that he countercharges like 2, but you do lose a lot of soul, so you know, it's something worth considering I think, but I'm not sure if it's that amazing. Next we have Dimer Glide. He has Engorge, and when this unit is retired from your Rearguard Circle with the effect of your unit's Engorge ability, so this time it's units, you Soul Blast 1 and put him on the bottom of your deck, so he, instead of hitting the drops when he goes to the bottom of your deck, so you won't be able to retrieve him with your Gaia skill. If you do, you choose any number of your units with Engorge ability, and they become Engorged until end of turn. So this is again the same kind of thing, but this time you can give Engorge to as many units as you want, so that's pretty nice. Next we have a grade 1 Blackwing Dragon. I'm getting a little bit of 5D's flashbacks over here. Raven Ptera. Oh god, it's actually Blackwing Dragon. I can't believe this. Blackwing meta is here. So when this unit on GB1 is retired from Rearguard Circle for the effect or cost of your Vanguard with the Engorge ability, you may Soul Blast 1. If you do, call this card to Rearguard Circle, and if the number of face-up cards in your G-Zone is 1 or less, you countercharge 1. He also does have Engorge. So this is quite nice. It's kind of like the Quetzalcoatl from Zodiac Time Beasts, in a way, except it's a grade 1, so it's a bit more flexible. But you convert a soul into a countercharge if you do have 1 or less face-up damages, which is definitely quite reasonable in a deck like this, which does counterblast quite a lot. So I think this is a really nice card that will see play, in my opinion. I don't think Gaia has like as accessible countercharge as this, but I'm not sure if I remember correctly, but at least that's from my experience up till now. And then the final Gaia card that we have is Child Dragon Little Tyranno. So, when this unit is retired from your Rearguard Circle for the effect or cost of your Vanguard with the Engorge ability, you on GB1, you may counterblast 1 and slide him into the soul. If you do, you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, call up to 2 cards with different card names as this card from among them to Rearguard Circle, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So, in case you ran a second one of this, you wouldn't be able to use it, but apart from that, you can call pretty much anything. So that's quite nice. I'm not sure if it would replace the old starter, but it's definitely not bad. You don't get the search ability that the old starter gives you though, which is definitely a very nice thing. Instead you do get 1 more card, but it kind of depends on what you prioritize more, but I think being able to search is still a bit more important, but this is still a good card. And then finally we have a few of the generic cards, first of which is obviously the heal, which is Convalescence Onis? Yes. So does the same thing as all the other effect heals. And then we have Buckshot Dragon Spread Amarga, which is a GB1 skill when retired from your rearguard circle for the effect or cost of any card during your turn, so not engorged, that's why I put it under generic. You may count on +1. If you do draw a card, you choose a card from your hand and call it to rearguard circle. So it's a little bit Spike Brothers-like, because you're calling from your hand, which this clan doesn't do as much, so it's quite interesting, but it is a way to get multi-attacks, so that's quite nice. And then the last card that we have, which has a really interesting skill, is Savage Conjurer. So 1, her art is nice. 2, her skill is, when she's retired from Guardian Circle, or if the attack didn't hit, you may Soul Blast 1 on GB1 and bind her face up and choose a Sentinel from your drop zone and bind it face up. If you do, you choose a Sentinel from your drop zone and return it to your hand. That's kind of interesting. It won't be doing anything on the field. It is a 7k, however, so that's kind of nice, but when you guard with it, you can essentially bind her and another Sentinel, most likely a Perfect Guard, face up, and then you can get yourself a Perfect Guard back to your hand, which is definitely not something to laugh at. I'm not sure how much play it would see, but I actually like the creativity that was put into this. So I think that Tachikaze as a whole, especially Gaia, got some really nice support this set that lets it keep playing against Link Choker quite well too. I think it hasn't topped too much in Japan, but that's partly because Tachikaze isn't popular in Japan. Dinosaurs are popular in the West. They've never been popular as a theme in Japan itself. They're not kaijus, so it is completely different. But so, yeah, I think we're gonna see some Gaia tops in the West for sure, maybe in France. I know a certain someone that just happens to main Gaia and has topped regionals before. So, we might see this topping in the West, but we'll see what kind of story time will tell. So, moving on. And up next, we're going to be moving into the clan that for whatever reason creates the worst kind of discussions on my Discord channel, which is Gold Paladin. The first card of which is the triple rare that they got, which is Master Swordsman of First Light Gurguit Helios. He has a Unite act once per turn. You Persona Flip, and then he gets +1 drive check. Simple as that. You just have to achieve Unite. So he gets that even if you first tried him, which is pretty cool. It's very, very, very free, which is, you know, slightly unfair for poor Excalibur. But his second skill is a continuous GB3. This unit gets +5k for each of your rearguards, and your opponent cannot call grade 1 or greater cards from hand to Guardian Circle during the battle this unit attacked. So you can, you know, you can grade 0 guard and you can G guard, but pretty much nothing else. So this is a really good card. It's kind of simple in design. It's slightly lazy in design, I would say, because you kind of just give it, there's no real condition for the +1 drive. Like, let's be real here. Like, it's so easy to get, and then the GB3 is just free +5k, +25k, you know, and then here's, let's just slap on guard restrict. So I like the art, and it's a good card. Obviously, it's a very good card, but it's just a little bit boring skill-wise, so there's not too much to say. Like, it's good, but there's not too much to discuss just because it's kind of simple. Next, however, we have a really nice card. Let's pull out those #free Garmor in the comments right now, because we've got Flash Fang Liberator Garmor Excel over here. So, this one does have a misprint, which I'll get to as we go through the skills, but his first skill is when your Liberator or Garmor G-Unit strides, you can count on +1 if you do look at the top 3 cards of your deck and call up to 2 Liberators from among them to separate rearguard circles, and with the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. Does what it needs to do. It's pretty much just stride, count on +1 to look at top 3, call 2, which is definitely quite nice. It's more than what Gurguit gets, so that's already a pretty good start. And don't forget that with Liberators, you can just kind of go into Aglo Veil, which gets you a catch goal, and then catch goal into something else, and then this starts your combos so easily, and then you just pump up with your Brunos and the things that have Bruno skills, and it's just a happy day. Now, the second skill does have a misprint. It's GB1. At the end of your turn, you may choose 2 of your rearguards with Liberator in their card names and put them on the bottom of your deck in any order. The top part is not real. That's a misprint. It would make no sense to put it on the top, because after that you draw a card. So that's just kind of stupid. So you put those 2 on the bottom of the deck. and then you draw yourself a card, so that's definitely quite nice. It's at the end of your turn, so that's quite nice. You can do it after you stride, so it's definitely not too bad. I honestly really like this Garmor as well, so it's honestly a good card. Anyway, I kind of dabbled into the Liberator stuff by accident over there, so let's finish up with Unite stuff first, and then we're going to go through all the Liberators and the generic stuff as well. So the next Unite card we have is Knight of Sunny Day Selonius. He has Unite. If you have a grade 4 Vanguard with Gurgrit in its name, all your units get plus 2k, so that's quite nice. He just for no reason just pumps up everything if you have Unite achieved. And then his other skill is at the beginning of the guard step that your Vanguard with Gurgrit is attacked, you may put him into the Soul, and if you do, you call the top 2 cards of your deck to Guardian Circle. So also quite nice. I honestly think this isn't a bad card. I don't think you have space for it though, because your lineup is already quite packed. But both skills are quite solid, it's just a question of whether you can fit it in or not. Next we have Knight of Insulation Carinus. He has a skill that if you have a Vanguard with a Unite ability, this unit gets Resist, so pretty much always gonna have Resist in this deck. And then his second skill is GB1 Act Unite. You rest him and choose one of your units and he gets plus 4k until end of turn. And then if you have a Vanguard with Gurgrit in its name, you choose one of your rear guards with a different card name as this unit. You may put it on the bottom of your deck, and if you do, you draw a card and counter charge 1. So that's also quite nice because it pumps something up, and you do have to put something on the bottom of the deck, and you have to rest him too, so you kind of lose out on 2 things, but it's not too bad because you do get to draw, so that balances out, and you countercharge 1 in case you need it. So I think this is quite nice. It would be even better if it could target circles, but Gold Paladin technically was the first one to do unlocking stuff, so we can't let them have everything. And that's actually it for the Unite stuff, so now we're going to quickly jump into the generic stuff, the first one of which is this very furious looking bunny, or Shaggy Rabbit, I should say, who does have Liberator in the name, which is quite nice, but he's the same effect heal as we've seen before. And the other generic card that we have is Militant Act Dragon, which has a pretty interesting, the interesting part of it is that it's a unit that has a rearguard circle that interacts with stride. So it's when you stride, even if you have it on a rearguard circle, you can count +1 and then put all the cards in your other circles other than Vanguard Circle on the bottom of your deck in any order. And if you put 1 or more cards, look at the 3 cards from the top of your deck and call up to 2 of them to separate rearguard circles and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is also the anti-Link Choker kind of thing, but it's grade 3, so it's going to be a bit hard to put into decks. So therefore, unless you have a Link Choker heavy meta locals, then you probably won't be playing this. And now finally, let's get into the main treat of the set, which is the Liberator support. So first we have Shining True Liberator Solemn Glitter. So Solemn Vanguard is slowly getting into Vanguard itself. It's not just solemn tones, but also solemn glitter, so he could be starting a fashion brand pretty soon, you never know. So Solemn Glitter's skill is once per turn add +1. If you have a hard card with Liberator in its card name, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, call up to 2 cards with Liberator in the card names from among them to separate rearguard circles, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So it does what it needs to do. It basically does the same as the Garmor Stride, it just gives you 2 things. So it's not bad. I wouldn't run this as a one-of in the Liberator deck just because it just starts combos. Who doesn't want to start their combos or keep fueling up their Brunos? And it's an act, so you don't have to. You can just do a bunch of stuff before using it and then just use it as your final call, so it's definitely not bad. I think it's actually a pretty solid card. Next, we have a really good perfect card that's only a rare, which is Liberator Improved Falcon, and he's definitely improved quite a lot. So he perfect cards for any unit, and then he has an act drop zone skill. You choose him and another card from your drop zone with the same card name and bind it face up, so you just bind 2 Improved Falcons, and then you choose up to 2 in any of your circles other than Vanguard Circle, put them on the bottom of your deck in any order, and if you put 1 or more cards, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, call 1 card from among them to Rearguard Circle, and put 2 cards from among them on the bottom of your deck in any order. This is really good because it's anti-Link Joker as a perfect card that can guard anything, plus it's essentially you put back 1 thing and then you can just superior call 1 thing right off the bat, so that's so nice. And then, if you are against Link Joker, then you can just put 2, and sure, you're only going to be able to call 1, but you've got a circle open now thanks to, being against Link Joker, so that's definitely quite good. And I think this, for a rare, this is a really ridiculously good perfect card. Next, we're gonna get on to some of the doggos, the first one of which is a Jargal Liberator. So when he's called from your deck to the effect of your card with Liberator in its card name, you can count +1 and soul +1 if you're in GB1. If you do, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, call up to 2 cards with Liberator in the card names from among them to separate rearguard circles, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. It does pretty much the same as Garmor, but it does have to be called due to the effect of your card with Liberator, so it cannot be called from hand, and it cannot be called due to the effect of something else, like Glorious Reigning. So do keep that. Although technically Glorious Reigning does take over the Liberator name from your heart, so I guess that also should be fine. So I guess just keep that in mind. Yeah, that should actually be fine. Never mind. Confused myself for a second. But yeah, so definitely pretty good. I think like it's just a solid doggo. Like there's not much to say about it. It's just actually good. And then next we have Easgull Liberator. So he is a pretty nice guy as well. Definitely a good boy. All of them are all good boys, as I'm sure we all agree. So his first skill is an act in rearguard circle and hand. You bind him face up, and then you choose one of your units or locked cards, unlock it, and it gets plus 2k until end of turn. So you either give something plus 2k, which is obviously not very amazing, but the other skill is to unlock something and give it plus 2k, which is a lot more amazing. But if you're against Chaos, then that locked unit is probably getting retired, so oops. Then his other skill is on rearguard circle at the beginning of your right phase. If you have a Vanguard with Liberator in its card name, you may put him on the bottom of the deck. If you do, you may pay the cost for your next stride with Counterblast a Liberator. So this is also quite good. I actually have in my usual locals here in Tokyo, there's one guy that always uses Liberators, and I know how the deck works pretty well now just because I keep facing him. So this guy's pretty annoying on us because you can just like pull him out with like Aglovale or something, or like Catch Call, whatever, just like while you're playing out your early turns, because you almost always do early aggro, and then you just keep him on the field, and then you like ride up, and then you just stride for Counterblast 1, and like putting him on the bottom of your deck, so it's really not that bad. So I honestly quite like this good boy as well. Next up we have yet another, this one's not a good boy, this is a horse, never mind. So this is Board and Illusion. His skill is once per turn GB1 on rearguard circle. When your other unit is placed on rearguard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Liberator in its card name, this unit gets plus 7k until end of turn. Very specific 14k, but you know, it's definitely not a bad thing. So it's just kind of interesting why they decided to go with exactly that. Obviously it is once per turn, otherwise it'd be a bit too dumb, but you know, it's alright. Definitely not Bruno or anything, but definitely not bad either. And then the final card that we have for both Gold Paladin and Liberators is Young Lion Liberator Romanus. And his art kind of starts to look like Bluish Flames again, so I kind of hope they go back to that, but I don't think so. I think we're staying with hashtag Free Garmor and the Good Boys. That sounds like a bad name. Anyway, his skill is an act rearguard circle GB1, Counterblast 1, and retire him. If you have a Vanguard with Liberator in its card name, you choose up to 2 of your units with Liberator in their card names, and they get the Bruno skill, which is when your other unit is placed on rearguard circle from your deck, this unit gets plus 3 until end of turn. So whoa. I'm trying to English here, but you turn 2 of your rearguards into Brunos, if they weren't already Brunos, so that's quite cool. You can also double your Bruno effects if you want to do that, but you probably don't really want to go for that route, but you know, never mind. So this is a pretty good start in my opinion. You either play this or the old, the Trumpeter Liberator starter, so it's one or the other I think, but this one is also quite solid. And that actually wraps up the segment on Gold Paladin. Alright, here we are. It's finally time to get onto Mr. Overlord himself, and god, just look at how terribly the Purge's English name fits into that text box. It's, I think, has it actually done it? Is it finally the longest name? Are we finally longer than the Ace? Was it the Ace or was it Dyer that had the longest name? I think it was the Ace. But god, like, look at how just compressed it all is, poor thing. Anyway, so Overlord got a massive boost in this set, and like honestly, it's like super good. The only part that I complain about is that like every time I go to shop tournaments here in Tokyo, like almost every round I'm just playing against Kagero and Kagero and Kagero. But I don't mind too much, it's better than playing against Chaos, I guess. Anyway, so the Purge's 2 skills, the first one of which is an act. Once per turn you flip any G-unit face up, which you could potentially flip your Drachma face up just to flex really hard. And then you choose a card with Overlord in its card name from your hand and put it into your soul, so that's still the cost. If the number of cards in your opponent's damage zone is 4 or less, you choose one of your opponent's Vanguards and deal 1 damage. During that damage check, all trigger effects are nullified. This is, in my opinion, the scary part of the skill, because like when I'm on 4 and I'm like, haha, I could still afford to take 1 more damage, maybe I'll get something nice and be able to survive this turn. And the Overlord player is like, haha, no, get fucked, just take this 5th damage and die to everything else I'm going to throw at you this turn. So it's a scary effect. It's like, it's just Overlord. Like, I don't, some people were actually annoyed. Some people were like properly pissed that Overlord didn't restand this time around. Like, Come on, it's still Overlord. Like, this is still, like, look at how good he looks. Anyway, his GB3 is, it was kind of the source of a little meme that I did on the Facebook page. Do like that if you haven't already. But, link in the description. Anyway, enough plugs. His GB3 is a continuous. This unit has the same number of drive checks as the number of cards in your opponent's damage zone. So technically, if they have 0, then you're not checking shit. And if they have 1 or 2, then you're checking less than your normal stride. But if they have 4 or 5, then you're checking obviously more. So ideally, you would have your opponent at 4 or 5. I mean, you stride this when your opponent's at 3, then you burn them for 1, and then they're at 4. Or, you know, from 4 to 5, you know, whichever works. But some people do stride it when they're at, like, the opponent's at 2, and they pop them up to 3, and then, you know, they just check 3 like normal, but at least they burned you, so I guess that's something. But normally, like, but usually by the time that they drop this on me, I already have a bit more damage. So the next Overlord card is Mr. The Destiny. So this time his name does fit inside the box quite well. So the Destiny has 2 skills, first one of which is when you write it from hand, specifically from hand, or at the beginning of your right phase, you may Soul Blast 1. If you do, choose any circle other than Vanguard circle and put all the cards on that circle into the drop zone. This doesn't specify your opponent, so technically, you can also burn your own in case they're locked. So you open up your own circles, which is quite nice, and that's honestly quite a nice part about it, but it's not restricted to just burning your opponent. And like, if they don't call anything, and like if they are Link Joker and they don't call anything, then you're just kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna kill my own lock unit, like I don't care. So that's quite cool. That's a really strong first effect. Like every single turn they're burning, like every single turn, so it's really good. Now the second skill is a stride effect. When you do stride, you may counterblast 1. If you do, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, retire it, and look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Overlord and from among them, and put into your hand and shuffle your deck. So counterblast 1 for a retire and a potential Overlord in hand, which will then later on go into your soul with the purge's cost, is definitely quite nice. And like Overlord, like I'm just happy to see Overlord back. Like, it's also nice to see how the builds kind of vary from time to time, so it's definitely quite cool. Next Overlord card we have is Glow Heater Dragon. So this once again has that skill where when it's cold or ridden, you can choose up to 1 card from your hand and reveal it. If neither that card nor your Vanguard is Overlord, then this gets -5k until end of turn, but normally it will stay at 10k. And then his second skill is a continuous, I wish I could speak English properly. If you have a grade 4 Vanguard with Overlord in its original card name, this unit gets +2k for each card in your opponent's damage zone. So essentially it can go up to +10k. It kind of works in a similar way as the Purge does, of like taking advantage of your opponent having more damage. So it's overall a pretty solid effect. Next we have the new Retrain of Burning Horn, which is now Evolute. And his skill, first skill at least, is when you call him, you may Soul Blast 1 and choose a card with Overlord and its card name from your hand and reveal it. If you do, choose an opponent's rear guard in the same column and retire it. So it's pretty much just like retire wherever you call it. So it's just a solid skill. And then his second skill is if you have a grade 4 Vanguard with Overlord in its original card name, this unit gets +2k for each card in your opponent's damage zone. So same thing as Glow Heater Dragon in that aspect. Next we have Overlord's personalized Stride Fodder in Doombringer High Flame. So when he is placed on rearguard circle, so not necessarily called, you choose up to 2 cards with Overlord in their card names from your drop zone and return them to your deck. And if you returned 1 or more cards, you shuffle your deck. But if you return 2 cards, then you draw a card. So it's quite good. You recycle your Overlords for whatever reason. Like, you're always recycling them for like all your skills anyway, so it's pretty nice. But this is just a solid first skill. And then once he's on the rearguard circle, he does have a skill that at the beginning of your right phase you may retire him. If you do until end of turn, you may stride without paying the cost for your next stride as long as it's a G unit with Overlord in its name. So it's not anything. You can't use this for Ziegenberg, but you can use this for the Ace and the Purge, so that's also quite good. And the last Overlord, or well, directly Overlord supporting card is Lizard Attacker Conroe. So it's the new starter, has an act, counterblast 1 and slide him into the soul, and choose an Overlord in your hand and reveal it. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Overlord in its card name from among them, and put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. But if you didn't put, then you soul charge 1, so that way I guess you don't, I mean, you still lose on the counterblast, but at least you get a soul out of it, I guess? Question mark? But it's an okay start. I still think old Conroe is better. Like, I've seen this starter being played in some of the topping builds, but honestly I still think that the old Conroe is better. But that's just me, I guess. And now we're going to go over the generic cards, first one of which is Dragon Dancer Tara. So this is the effect heal for Kagero, which is looking quite nice. And then the other generic card that Kagero as a whole got is Fire Chase Dragon, which is essentially a grenade in critical trigger form. So he has a GB1. When your opponent's unit in the same column as this unit is retired, you may retire him. If you do, retire all of your opponent's rear guards in the same column as this unit. So that's pretty cool, because like you essentially, it's like you retire something and just like pop him off, just like throw him at your opponent and then just like blow up the other thing in that column. So for a crit, this is really cool. It's like actually so nice that it's just a crit. So I quite like this guy. I think he's honestly a pretty good crit. And finally we have the Blaze stuff, the first one of which is an Accent Grave Dragon. So he does have Blaze and the Act once per turn skill, counterblast 1 and choose a face down G unit and turn it face up. Until end of turn, this unit gets the skill that when this blazing unit attacks, you draw a card and choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So it's not on hit, it's actually quite nice. I think this is a pretty solid stride actually, it's just a rare too. So like even in Overlord builds, I wouldn't like kind of shove this off as like a first stride. I think it's actually quite okay in every Kagero build. So it's quite generic, but it does have Blaze in the in the effects, so that's why I put it with that. Next we have Dragon Knight Isar, so this is directly interacting with Blade Master. So he does have Blaze and the rearguard GB2. When this unit attacks, if you have a Blazing Vanguard with Blade Master in its card name, you may Soul Blast 1. If you do until the end of that battle, this unit gets plus 5k and your opponent cannot intercept. And at the end of that battle, you may retire all rearguards in the same column as this unit, which would include himself and anything behind him as well. So you have to be a little bit careful with that so that, you know, you don't make too much of a neg while using him, but it's definitely a very solid, like it's an AoE retire too, so it bypasses resist and whatnot, so it's definitely a pretty good card, honestly. Like gains power, like locks off intercepts, so they can't just like intercept with whatever is in that column, and then, you know, on top of that he's AoE retire, which is definitely appreciated in this resist force heavy meta. Next up is Dragon Knight Naim, my bad. So he does have Blaze, and when this unit attacks or boosts on GB1, if you have a Blazing Vanguard with Blade Master in his card name, you may have this unit get plus 4k. And if you do, at the end of that battle, you put him into the soul and choose one of your units, and he gets plus 4k until end of turn. It's pretty good. He's an 11k booster or attacker, and then he fuels up your soul and also gives something else plus 4k, so there's very little demerits to this guy. And next up is finally the last Kagero card and last Blaze card, which is the new starter, Recuperate Draco Kid. So when he attacks or boosts, if you have a Vanguard with the Blaze ability, you may counterblast 1. If you do this, unit gets plus 1k until the end of that battle for each of your opponent's open rearguard circles, and at the end of that battle, if the attack hit a Vanguard, you draw a card and put him into the soul. So that's quite nice that like put into the soul after everything has happened, because like you can counterblast 1, and then like if it doesn't hit, he'll just stay there. Sure, you lost that counterblast, but he, you know, you did give a unit a bunch of power, and you know that's all that matters for now. Well, it's still kind of lackluster. Like again, while there's Conroe, every Kagero starter looks a bit bad until they like overpower Conroe, but it's so hard to overpower Conroe without like banning it 1 month after release. So that's kind of the problem with these Kagero starters. But anyway, that's actually it for the Kagero section. And finally, we have my good friend Solemn Vanguard's favorite clan, Aqua Force. So, I almost honestly put this as my favorite clan for this set, but obviously you know what I put as my favorite. It's just that I'm a little bit disappointed in the support that my actual favorite one got, so I'm not as excited to talk about it. Like I was really excited about it before I started testing and like while initial testing, but then the more and more I played, I just kind of like meh. So like yeah, but we'll talk about that soon. First of all, we do have to talk about Aqua Force, which they got some incredible support this set, and like an unhealthy amount of foils, and the highest like card count in like all of the clans in the set too. Like this section is gonna be pretty long. I hope you realize that. So we have 2 reprints, the first one of which is Mr. Tetraboil, so this is the Blue Wave Stride, or well, the Blue Wave Stride beforehand, now it's not the only one anymore. And then we also got Mr. Thavas, his previously or former SP art that is now available in reprint triple rare foiling, so that's quite nice. But without any further ado, let's just get into the incredible GR that is Marshal General of Surging Seas Alexandros, which just happens to be my second name. or middle name, I guess, as you would say. Anyway, he has wave second or third time. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked, you may counterblast 1 and flip a G unit face up, which you can potentially flip a Megiddo just to flex. If you do, choose 2 of your rear guards, stand them, and they get plus 5k until end of turn for each face up card in your G zone. This is pretty insane, and this also started a slightly bad trend in GRs where you play like 3 to 4 of them, because it's like, this is your first stride, this is your second stride, this is your third stride, this is your every stride, you know? And like this trend is kinda gonna continue with the Mega Colony support in the next set, so it's not sure how I feel about it, because that makes the GRs quite expensive. Not the case for Alexandros, luckily, but god, he's so good. Like, at first it's just like a 5k to both, but even that is it's like a slightly worse Lambros, just cost the counterblast. But then it just becomes a better Lambros in every way after that. Like, you can be adding like plus 20k, plus 25k onto things that will still restand. Like, don't forget that the things that you're adding the power to are still gonna restand. Like, that's ridiculous. It's actually insane. Yeah, like, that's Alexandros. It's good in everything. It's not just good for Thavas. It's really like that amazing. And it's just, it's actually shocking how good this card is. And I think, like, I didn't want to talk about it too much, because, like, Solemn Vanguard was like, can you not say too many things about this card, because, like, I kind of need to get them first. I was like, okay, dude, sure. So, you know, the cat's out the bag. But, like, it's actually, like, this is, like, actually such a good card. And honestly, like, it dictates a really good future for Aqua Force. Now, I'm not sure, I kind of want to leave my favorite for last in this one, but I think I'll just go, I don't know, let's go Blue Wave, Maelstrom, Thavas in order, I guess. I guess we can do that. I think that should be fine. But since we started with Alexandros, who is technically generic, we might as well just go over the generic stuff first. So next we have Blue Wave Engineer Refit Sailor. So this is the effect heal for Aqua Force and does have Blue Wave in the name, so that's quite cool. Next is a really nice G-Guard, that is Galphilia. So she has wave second or third time, gets plus 5k shield, just like that, no extra cost. But she has the Act G-Zone skill, where you Soul Blast 1 and turn her face down, meaning you can use her again, and you choose a card in your circle or in your damage zone and turn it face up. Meaning you either unflip a damage, or you unlock a card, or undelete your Vanguard, which is pretty damn cool. So really good G-Guard, like, does what it needs to do, and is just overall so solid. I don't think anybody's gonna be complaining about it. Next, Nikki got a reprint, so this is the Stride Fighter for Aqua Force, as well as the Thavas Searcher. And then the other reprints, not reprints, generic cards include Blue Wave Soldier, Blue Yield Trooper, who is a second draw that gives plus 3k to something. Like, we already had one, so like, okay, whatever. And then the other one is Blue Wave Soldier, Twin Head Shark, which is a stand trigger that has an Act GB1, retire him, and choose any number of your rearguards and exchange their positions, and then draw a card, so that makes up for the retire. So that's it for the generic cards. Obviously, you know, Alexandros kind of outweighs literally everything in this set by a little bit, so there's that. So let's go over the Blue Wave support now, the first card of which is going to be Flood Hazard Dragon. So his skill is, well, first skill at least, is at the end of the battle that rearguard with Blue Wave in its card name attacked. If you have a hard card with Blue Wave in its card name, and if it was the 4th battle of this turn, you may counterblast 1 and Persona Flip, and then choose 2 cards from your hand and discard them. If you do, you stand him and he loses 3 drive checks. That means that if you first tried this and you use the skill, then you will not be drive checking after that, so do keep that in mind. However, his GB3 does give him plus 1 drive, therefore it'll be 4 drive checks on the first attack and then 1 drive check on the second, making, you know, that cost kind of pay off. And then all your rearguards in your front row with Blue Wave and their card names get plus 2k, which does bump up your 9ks pretty well, so that's also quite nice. It's overall a solid stride. I think it's like actually quite good. As a first stride, like, it still restands, so it's still like they can just drop like a 20k shield, like, you know, because it's you're not gonna be checking anything. And the cost is a little bit steep for a first stride as well, but I think it gets better as it goes on. And like, definitely once you're already on GB3, like, the skill is just like actually just properly good. Next up, we have the new boss for Blue Waves, which is Blue Wave Marshal Valeos. So his first skill is at the beginning of your right phase, you may counterblast 1. If you do, choose up to 1 card with blue wave in its card name from your hand and call it to rearguard circle, and it gets +2 against on its turn, and if you call the card, you draw a card. As this is at the beginning of your right phase, I'm pretty sure if you ride into him, you can't use it that turn, because by then you've already like gone past your beginning of right phase. So it's a good skill regardless though, just don't get me wrong, it gets like your 9Ks up to 11K just like that, and lets you draw a card too, so it's definitely a good card, like for sure, don't get me wrong. But the second skill is the one that did make people overhype this a little bit, I want to say. So let's go over it. When you stride a blue wave, that part is a bit, It's not just any stride, you can't do that on Alexandros, or, you know, on like the strides that actually put up a lot of pressure. So when you stride a blue wave specifically, you may Soul Blast a blue wave. If you do, choose one of your opponent's vanguards, and until end of turn, increase or decrease its power to 11k, and its power cannot increase or decrease other than for this effect and a Guardian's guard power. So essentially, you cannot increase it with trigger effects, and you cannot increase it like with stuff like Gavriel's GB2. That stuff is just not going to work, because you can only increase it with the Guardian power, or value rather. So it's a really interesting skill. Like, I like the way it's designed. I think like Vanguard needs more of these things, because it's like very original, I want to say. Like, it's just properly designed. That's all I can say. It's just well designed skill. It's just the fact that it's only blue waves that you can stride, so it's kind of, it loses pressure, because you can't do it on like Wailing, you can't do it on Tavas, not Tavas, on Lambros, and you also can't do it on Alexandros, so it's a little bit unfortunate, but still a good skill. Next, blue waves also got a Perfect Guard, which unfortunately can only Perfect Guard blue wave units, but pretty much everything in your deck is a blue wave unit anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And then has the Drop Zone GB1 skill that you bind him face up and choose one of your rearguards with blue wave in his card name, and until end of turn you give it the skill that it can attack from the back row. Not sure how I feel about this. I think you're better off playing the countercharging one, because the deck still does counterblast a lot. So I think you're mostly going to be fine with the countercharging one, but this one is, you know, quite alright as well. Next, we have Blue Wave Marine General Galeas. Galeas is probably how it's supposed to be pronounced, who has an interesting skill, but I've heard from Blue Wave players that they're not that happy with him as they thought they would be. So it's a once per turn GB1. When he attacks, if you have Vanguard with Blue Wave in his original card name, you can counterblast 1 and discard a blue wave. That part is a little bit heavy. Discarding 1 every turn is just a little bit much. But if you do, until end of turn, this unit gets the skill that once per turn when your Vanguard attacks, you stand this unit and gets +2k until end of turn. So that's one stand, and it turns itself into an 11k attacker, which is quite nice. And then if it's the first battle of this turn, then you stand him again. So he attacks and he stands mid-attack. That doesn't cancel the attack. The first attack still finishes before he stands again. But this is a card that can stand 2 times on its own, which is quite good. But that discard cost is a little bit steep. I feel like they could have balanced it out a little bit better, but like the deck doesn't generate enough advantage to be able to pull off that discard skill every single turn. Next, we have a reprint of Mr. Foivos, which was definitely very welcome. The card like went for like 10k yen for a playset on in Japan, right? Like hours before the reprint got announced, and then it just kind of disappeared, so I think they just hid in shame. Next, we have a new grade 3 for Blue Waves. That is a common, which is Blue Wave Dragon, Arsenal Fleet Dragon. So he has a once per turn GB1. When he attacks, you may counterblast a Blue Wave. If you do until end of that turn, he gets +4k, and if it's the second battle of this turn, then you stand him, so that's quite good. He does stand mid-battle, but again, just like I said before, the first battle doesn't cancel because of that. And then he has a Drop Zone skill, where when your Vanguard with Blue Wave and its card name stands due to the effect of your card, you may Soul Blast 1 to return him to your hand. So that's quite good. It's a stride fodder that can just like return itself when your Vanguard restands, which it will be doing if you're playing Blue Wave, so whoa, that's pretty good. Next we have Iki no Koritai, Iki no Koritai. We have Medla, who looks a lot like Cheryl Gnome from Macross Frontier. I actually like her skill too. She has resist, which is good because blue waves don't have nearly enough resist in comparison to Thavas. And then the other skill is a GB1 on rearguard circle. If you have Vanguard with blue wave in its card name, this unit gets the skill that it can attack from the back row, and when it attacks a Vanguard from the back row, it gets +3 cancel on that battle, making it an 11k back row attacker on its own with resist to boot, and it looks like Cheryl, so it's definitely a good card, no arguments there. Next we have Beragios or Beragios. His skill is when you call it from hand, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Balios from among them and put into your hand and shuffle your deck. If you put one card, choose one or more cards with the sum of their grades being 3 or greater from your hand and discard them. So this is basically the Luard Owl, like it's literally just the Luard Owl skill, so you know, that's how it is. And then the second skill is when your Vanguard with Blue Wave in its card name stands, you also stand him. So that's pretty cool because your rearguards are also standing a lot, like your front row rearguards, and like he stands together with them, so it's pretty good. And you can just keep using him after you've called him to use a skill, so it's actually very impressive. And then we have a new starter for Blue Waves, which is Kosti. So at the end of the battle, this unit boosted a rearguard with Blue Wave in its card name. You can count +1 and retire him. If you do, you draw a card, and for each face-up Blue Wave in its original card name, for both on your Vanguard Circle and G-Zone, you choose one of your units and they get +4k until end of turn. So this will scale as the game continues, but I feel like they have a better starter, so I'm a bit iffy on this one. But I'm having trouble defending that argument. It's still a solid card though, just because it doesn't have to hit. You get a draw out of it for the retire, and you essentially give +4k to everything by the time you use this, I think. Even if it's on first stride, you get like, you know, just two +4k buffs. Not too bad. And then the last Blue Wave card that we have is actually a reprint of Brutal Trooper. So that's it for the Blue Waves, and now we're gonna look over the very few but still existing Maelstrom cards. And it's been so long since these cards were revealed that I've borderline forgotten what they did, but the first one of which is Blue Storm Breaking Dragon Engulf Maelstrom. So this is the Stride. He has a continuous wave 4th time only. Your opponent cannot call cards from their hand or G-Zone with grade less than the number of cards with Maelstrom in their card names in your soul during the battle this unit attacked. Essentially, like, this is pretty insane. At some point, it's just gonna become a G-Guard only, which is quite the guard restriction. So it's actually a pretty nice effect. It does restrict itself to wave 4th time only, and you know, you do have to have a lot of Maelstroms in Soul, but it's definitely quite possible. And I think that the deck also topped in Japan at some point. Like nothing, don't think it was anything too super big, but it did top, and like I think it is capable. Second skill is an act once per turn. You flip a unit face up. If the number of face up cards with Maelstrom in its card name in your G-Zone is 2 or more, this unit gets +5k and +1 crit until end of turn, which makes it, you know, it's not a first stride, but it is a second stride that you can get that on. So it's definitely not bad just to try and push damage, or just like eat up your opponent's perfect guards, whichever you prefer. But you won't be eating those perfect guards, because by then you will have sealed their perfect guards thanks to the guard restrict, so that's not really something you should worry about. So it's overall a quite solid stride. Now the second card is the new grade 3, which is Blue Storm Supreme Dragon Lordly Maelstrom. So interesting choice of adjectives there. First skill is when you stride a Maelstrom on top of him, so specifically Maelstrom, then you counterblast 1, or you may counterblast 1, and if you do, then you choose a card from your drop zone and put it into your soul, and choose up to 1 card with Blue Storm in its card name from your hand and call it to rearguard circle until end of turn. It gets the skill that at the end of the battle of this unit attack, you stand him once per turn. So good skill. It gives a title to anything you want for free. Well, for counterblast 1 technically, but you also fill up your soul, which is also definitely quite good, because in the end, like, his skill fuels the condition for the stride in order to get the wave 4th only skill. So you just need to have a bunch of Maelstroms in your soul, and this definitely helps with that too. So I think like the way that it's designed is definitely quite good. Next is GB2, is at the end of your turn, which is already a good point. If you attack 4 or more times this turn, then you counterblast 1. If you do, you draw a card and your opponent chooses one of the rearguards and retires it. It is your opponent choosing, but you get 2 things out of that 1 counterblast, which is definitely quite good. And it does like the thing that Maelstrom used to have to hit to do. Sure, it was for free, or was it even for free? I think it was for free. I'm not, oh god, it's been so long since BT08 that I've forgotten if the original Maelstrom has to counterblast 1 on hit or not. I just know it gains +5k without hitting, but you know, that's god, it's been like what, 4 years now? Yeah, god, Jesus. Anyway, so that's the new grade 3 Maelstrom. It's solid as hell, honestly. Like, I personally think Maelstrom's in a pretty good position after this set too. It's just nowhere near as hyped as some of the other archetypes. Next, we got another one of these 10k things, this time with Maelstrom. I'm not even going to recite the first skill anymore, like you already know what it does, because we've talked about it in like the Gaia and the Overlord variants. And then the second skill is an act once per turn, counterblast 1, and put a Maelstrom from your drops into your soul, which is again very good for accelerating that stride condition. And until end of turn, this unit can attack from the back row, and it gets +4k. So 14k attacker from the back row is going to hit any rearguard, well, usually, unless they're like Broken Heart or something. But, you know, it's good for bullying 9k rearguards and whatnot. It doesn't specify that it has to attack the Vanguard either, so it's definitely quite good, and it adds to your total battle count. so it's definitely not something to complain about. And that's actually it for the Maelstrom cards. They only got a few, but still very solid, and you know, the deck can use Alexandros, but you won't be able to get Lordly Maelstrom's bonus off of it, but it's still quite good. And now at long last, let's get on to Mr. Thavas himself. Alright, this, like, it was kind of funny with Thavas, because, like, for a while they weren't revealing anything for Thavas, and then, like, suddenly they dropped this bad boy, Supreme Ruler of the Storm, Thavas, out of nowhere in the Gekkan Bushirodo, and, like, it was actually just ridiculous reading it. So, his first skill is a stride skill, where when you stride, you choose up to one card from your hand and call it to rearguard circle, and you choose one of your rearguards, any of them, not necessarily that one that you called, it can be that one, but it doesn't have to be that one, and you give it resist. And if that rearguard has the wave ability, that rearguard being the one that you gave it resist to, then it gets a skill that it can attack from the back row. So this is the beginning of Resist Force. And the second skill is a once per turn rearguard ability. GB2 wave first or fourth time. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked, you may count +1 if you do stand him. The wave 1 or 4 is very important because this means that you can attack with anything else the first attack. Let's say you attack with your, I don't know, Magnum Assault. Do we still play Magnum Assault? I think we do, right? Right? Do we? I don't play Thavas, but I mean, I like watching it. So you attack with a Magnum Assault like into a rearguard, so you don't proc the ability because you're trying to like dodge the timing on the first one, so you can use it with Alexandros. Then you go with this Thavas. It's now wave 2, so you can even attack the Vanguard. Or I guess we don't play Magnum anymore, we play Adelaide. But Adelaide has the same condition, so you smash her into a rearguard, and then you go with Thavas, you can go rearguard, you can go Vanguard, because it's now wave 2, therefore this will not trigger at all, so you won't lose the once per turn, because like you don't want to lose that once per turn. Like you don't want to lose the skill just by messing up the timing, so make sure it's either wave 2 or 3 or 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, whatever you may do. Because what you're doing is that like you want to attack like twice before you use your Alexandros. So you're going to attack, let's say, like once with the Adelaide into like a rear guard, you're going to attack once with the Thavas into literally anything, and then you go with Alexandros, wave third time, and then you're going to stand those units, both the Adelaide and the Thavas, and then you're going to give them all that power, and then you're going to go in with Adelaide and Thavas, probably unboosted, and then both Adelaide and Thavas stand each other, or stand themselves from their own skills, and then you can use things like Orthia to stand those units once again. It will eat up Counterblast, obviously, but you can use Orthia to stand them again, and just like, god, there's so many attacks you can do per turn, and they just keep going up and up and up. Like, the only two small attacks you're gonna get in that whole turn are the first Thavas and Adelaide attacks. After that, it just goes crazy. So this Thavas is ridiculous. It's like, it's good on both Vanguard and Rearguard circles. Like, are you kidding me? Could you ask for anything better? I don't think so. Like, this is actually ridiculously good. And then Thavas doesn't stop there, because there's also Battle Siren Sipla, who is a 11k attacker. If you have a Thavas and gives herself resist, the resist force continues. Also, she's a redhead with a ponytail, which makes her immediately like best girl in the clan, of course. And then she has a rearguard circle GB1, wave second to fourth time, so this time it spans over third as well. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have Vanguard with Thavas in its name, you can +1, and for that battle, you can draw a card and gain +3k. So it's just a, well, 14k attacker, but it does have to attack the Vanguard, so you're probably going to be, well, you want to have some other buff on her as well to make it worth it. So it's nice because it's not a once per turn that draw, so like you can just kind of like stand her and like just get a bunch of draws going, so it's definitely not bad. Doesn't have to hit either, you can like whiff the attack and still get the draw off, so it's definitely quite good just for that. And then the final Thavas and Aqua Force card that we have is Dragon Rider Dinos, or Dinos. First, again, if you have a Vanguard with Thavas in this card name, just resist. Like, why not? Like, resist. Just like inhale oxygen. Resist. That's all you need. Like, that's how easy it is to have resist in Thavas, apparently. So, and the second skill is Rearguard Circle GB1, wave first or fourth time, same timing as our good friend Thavas. When this unit boosts, if you have a Vanguard with Thavas in its card name, you may Soul Blast 1. If you do, your opponent chooses one of their rearguards and retires it. On first glance, I thought this card was like really strong, but apparently, like, my good pal Solemn Vanguard told me that after testing it didn't seem that way and he plays Orthia instead because she creates just ridiculous combos, and like I can see why, because like the numbers really do match up to what the theory crafting tells us. So that's actually it for Aqua Force. Obviously the ones that got out of this set the best in terms of Aqua Force is Thavas. Like, it's just insane how good Thavas got from like 2 cards. Like, just that grade 3 and Alexandros are enough to carry this deck to like ultimate victory. Oh, plus the G-Guard. I guess that's 3 cards then. So like it's just ridiculous. It's actually borderline ridiculous. It feels like the Thavas grade 3 is like 2 cards in 1. Like, that's how good it is. So definitely not something to laugh at. This is a just really good set for Aqua Force in general, and honestly, like, Thavas players are looking to be a really tough competition in the oncoming meta. But I wouldn't discard the Blue Waves either. I don't think they're tier 1 strong, but they're like, you know, they're still quite strong, and Maelstrom might just pop up here and there as well because nobody is really expecting that. So finally, moving on to the last clan. And finally, we're at the final section, which is the Angel Feather support. So I feel kind of two-sided on this. Like, obviously I'm very happy that it's finally Gavriel support. We finally get the second Gavriel grade 3 and the new Gavriel Stride, and everything is so pretty. But like, skill-wise it's kind of alright, but in the end it's kind of like, you might as well just play no seal anyway. So first of all, we have a reprint of the old Gavriel grade 3. God, do I love her art. Like, Fuzi Choco's art is just so good, but this one is just, it's so amazing. I really like, this might just be my favorite Gavriel art like of all time, just because it's so like regal and so beautiful. Like, it's like actually just gorgeous. But anyway, moving on, we do have the new Stride, which is Fanatic Seraph Gavriel Eden. So her first skill is simply a rescue 1, act once per turn, soul blast 1, and persona flip, and then you rescue 1. So that's literally it, like you just rescue 1, but it's good because you need the face-up G unit for first Stride. And then when she attacks, you choose up to the same number of cards in your damage zone as the number of face-up cards in your G zone and call them to separate rearguard circles, and they get +3 until end of turn, and put the same number of cards from the top of your deck as the number of cards chosen into your damage zone face down. So the nice part is that for that, like the you know, for the effect, you can select face down units in your damage zone and call them, and then like you put top deck face down anyway, so you might as well just keep it even. But the thing is, it's not that big of a deal, honestly, because like you're gonna flip them face up either through rescue checks or through like anything else regardless, because that's what the clan does. The fact that you have +3k is nice. If that +3k scaled with every face up G unit, this would be a super good Stride. Right now it's still good, but if it's scaled it would be even better. That's just my personal opinion on it. I think it's a good Stride, honestly. Like, it promotes a very aggressive playstyle for the clan, which I quite like, because you can do some crazy multi-attack combos with the new support. It's quite ridiculous. So we're gonna, you know, you'll see what I mean as we go over the cards. But this first Stride, honestly, at first I thought it was garbage. At first I thought, like, what the hell is happening? But after testing it, I was like, yo, this is actually not that bad, and it's a good first Stride, and sometimes you just second Stride it and you end the game there because it goes that fast. So it's definitely quite good. Next we have the new grade 3, which is Black Shock Gavriel Prim. Now, I'll immediately say this, I haven't done the deck profile yet because I've been really busy with midterms that just ended, and I had other videos I wanted to get up before, but I will do the deck profile eventually, don't worry, it will be up there. But the thing I'll say immediately is that this new Gavriel is a deck of her own. You don't play old Gavriel with new Gavriel, you play this Gavriel and you play Phaleg, like the old grade 3 that we had before. Like, these are two different decks. You either play old Gavriel with like stalling and powering up and Broken Heart, or you play this Gavriel and you don't play Broken Hearts, in my opinion. From my testing, I really don't think Broken Heart is needed in this build. But this is like the super aggressive, like, end on second Stride kind of build. So anyway, her skills are, first of which is when you Stride, you may choose a card from your hand and put it into your damage zone face up. If you do, then you choose any card in your damage zone and put it into your hand, and then you rescue 1. This is nice because you can take face down damage, so that's quite cool. It's like a mini no-seal actually. It's like essentially it's like a no-seal plus rescue 1. Like, that's what the skill actually is. And I didn't think we needed this, but we really did, so I'm kind of happy about it. This is a really good skill. This is actually a really nice Stride skill, and I'm like quite happy about it. It's not a direct call like we would have had before, so you can't like do like random rescue, like on ride Stride rescue combos with Aratoron, but this is still good because you can just take like heals back into your hand and whatnot, and it's just good. Second skill is a continuous GB2. You may pay counterblast a rescue card for the cost of your stride with the rescue ability next time you stride. So that's also quite good. I didn't think it would be that good. I was like, oh, like why am I counterblasting for my strides? But it's actually like fine. It's pretty good. It's just a bit restrictive because, for example, the Black Seraph Gabriel stride, it doesn't have rescue printed at the keyword part. It's like printed in the red text, so you can't use it for that, which is a bit annoying. But you can use it for Eden, which is quite good, and you know that's already quite important, honestly. So definitely a nice grade 3. It just dictates the build of the deck completely differently. So that's something that we'll talk about more in the deck profile, but it's something that you can keep in mind until then. Alright, so now that we've gone over that, let's take a look at the other rescue cards. Almost everything in the set is rescue, but there is generic stuff and there is Celestials as pretty much always. But, you know, like that's not the part I'm very excited about. But anyway, the next rescue card we have is a new Perfect Guard, which is Arakiba. So it can protect any unit when used as a Perfect Guard, but in the damage zone it does have the skill that at the beginning of the guard step, the unit with the rescue ability is attacked, you may call her face up from the damage zone to the Guardian Circle. She gets plus 15k shield. So you can't use her as a Perfect Guard because it has to be called from hand, but she is a 15k shield that just spawns out of your damage zone, and then you put the top card of your deck face down into damage, but then you rescue one, so that kind of equals out. So it's like, wow, it's actually a really good Perfect Guard. I like switched to it immediately, and I never thought about switching back because like this is a nice Perfect Guard. Like it's a Perfect Guard for any unit, and on top of that, it just like randomly just like jumps out of your damage zone to protect you. So definitely very solid. Next we have Black Carve Azazel. So her skill is essentially a GB1 when your other unit with rescue attacks. Well, other unit, I mean just like anything on your field that's attacking because she's a damage zone skill. You can counterblast 1. If you do, you call her from face up damage to rearguard circle, and if she's called, you top deck face down damage, and then if you did that, then you rescue 1. So really good because you do top deck face down damage, but you rescue it away anyway. And then on top of that, like she is so good because you can just kind of just push her out, and then if you're on the Black Seraph stride, then when you do push her out and you do the rescue check, you will proc Black Seraph skill, and then you will power buff her, and then she will be able to hit for, you know, just like the base magic number. So that's all you really need with this card as well. So like just want to hit for 11s because you're trying to rush that fast. It's also fine with Prim because you can, like, you won't call this with Prim, but you will maybe call her Booster, and it'll be a 10k or even more behind her, and therefore, you know, put up the numbers quite nicely. So it's definitely quite good, and honestly a really good grade 2, so I'm not complaining. Next, there's a reprint of Black Hole Nakir. She's your Stride Fodder as well as your Gabriel Searcher. And then the next card we have, I don't play this one, but I still think it's quite alright, is Black Wisdom Sraosha. Yes. So she has Rescue 1, Oral Act, once per turn GB1, counterblast 1, and just Rescue 1. So you counterblast 1, Rescue 1, so you'd actually refund the cost. So it's just to proc Rescue for whatever reason. And then the second skill is a Rearguard Circle once per turn GB1. When your card with a Rescue ability is put into your damage zone, you counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. If you do it, put the top card of your deck into your damage zone face up, and then choose a face up card from your damage zone and put it into your hand. So that's quite cool. It's a little bit of a no-seal effect, but it's, you know, it specifies when your Rescue ability is put into your damage zone, so there's that. Next up is a really good card that you should not be glancing over because it's really going to be super important, which is Antibody Pegasus. First off, it has Vanguard, Rearguard, and Guardian Circle Resist, which is already a really good start. It doesn't have Resist, it doesn't have Rescue printed on it as a skill keyword, but it's still very good regardless. When your card is put into your drop zone from your damage zone during your turn, if you have a Gabriel Vanguard, you counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. If you do, you choose a face up damage zone card and call it to Rearguard Circle, and then put the top card of your deck into your damage zone face up. So that's really cool. It's a bit of a steep cost, but you're usually going to play in a way that you can always fulfill it, because this can spawn so many combos. It can spawn attacks all the time. It can like give you like just fill up your field all the time, because what are you're always putting things from drops, like from damage zone to drop zone. So like it's just so good. It's such a good card. I'll talk about it more in the deck profile, but this can spawn so many nice combos, and it's just like you're struggling it's gonna save you. Like, that's literally what it's there for, and that's the magical part about it. Next, we have Thermic Shot Nurse. Sadly, she's not that good. GB1, when this card is put into your drop zone from your damage zone, you soul charge 1, and if it's due to the effect of your card with the rescue ability, you can call her back to the rearguard circle. But she's only 8k, so even if you do get the Black Seraph buff off, it's only a 10k, so it doesn't really hit much. If it's with the Prim, then she gets or with Eden rather, she gets to 11k, but still, like, not really that good, because you won't get 11k, you know, from being called with her own skill. She needs to be called with Eden's skill, so really not that great. And then we have an actual good grade 1, which is Black Talent Lila. So first of all, she has a continuous during the turn that your card is put into the drop zone from your damage zone. She has plus 6k, so 13k attack or 13k booster, whichever one will work. And if you got her off Eden, then she's 16k, which is also good. And then like you know how it's gonna go. Next, she has a Rescue 1 effect. GB2, when she's called, you can Soul Blast 1 if you do Rescue 1. So that's really nice. It's kind of like Malik, I believe her name was, just like with Soul Blast 1 and GB2 tacked on. So instead of being like when called from damage zone, like on attack or boost, it's just like when called and that's it. And I think, and honestly, it's actually better. So good card, starts combos, like actually starts combos. It starts some of your like Antibody Pegasus plays, just like mid battle. So that gives you more and more and more multi attacks. So that's like super good. And then we have Dr. Roy Doritos. Got that good old nacho cheese going on over here. So his first skill is when it boosts the unit with the rescue ability, this unit gets plus 2k on that battle. So 9k boost pretty much always. Well, not always, I guess not with stuff like Antibody. But then he has a Rescue 1 GB1. When an attack hits a Vanguard during the battle of this unit boosted, you can counterblast 1. If you do choose a card from your damage zone, heal it, and then, you know, complete the rescue. So it's just an on-hit counterblast 1 to Rescue 1. But, you know, it's not that good, honestly. I wouldn't play this because of that on-hit, and like 9k booster isn't that impressive when like you're powering up all the time anyway. So yeah, that's basically it. And then the final rescue card, but also a good one, is Black Curse Murdiel. So she's a new starter. She has an Act GB1, counterblast 1 and slide her into the soul. You put the top card from your deck into your damage zone face up, and then you choose a face up card in your damage zone and call it to rearguard circle. And if you have a Vanguard with the rescue ability, you can return it to your hand at the end of that turn, that specific card. So this is pretty good. You can call out, you know, you can call out a heal basically, or like call out like stride fodders and stuff, and then bring them back to hand as long as you have a Vanguard with rescue. But you know, it is important that like you can't use this if you use it when like you're on Black Seraph or something, because that doesn't have rescue printed on it. So it has to be on something like Eden. But still, that's usually when you're going to use it anyway, so it's actually really nice. And that's it for the rescues. Now we're going to go over the Celestials and then the generics, because I don't know why I decided that, but that's how it's going to be. So the first Celestial card is the Strari Raguel. So when she attacks, if you have a heart card with Celestial in its name, you can choose a card from your hand and put it into your damage zone face up. If you do, you choose up to 2 cards from your damage zone with the same card name as any of your units and call them to separate rearguard circles, and they get plus 5k on of turn. If you call 2 cards, choose one of your Vanguards and deal 1 damage. That way you don't accidentally heal. So that's pretty good, honestly. Like, this is actually a really nice stride because it's not an on hit, it's a rare. You can first stride it just to like randomly pop out 2 new attacks, because like you check for them being the same before you actually call them. So like you can check and then call the exact same cards in the exact same positions where they were before. Sure, you're going to retire them, but if they're hitting for like 14k, 16k, if not more, then that's definitely not something to complain about, because you're being super aggressive for a limit break deck, and that's definitely quite good. Plus, with the cost of the effect, you can also like put in the copies into your damage zone, so that way you can help fulfill that condition. So it was overall a pretty good stride, and it's a rare too, so like honestly, Celestials are looking kind of solid. Next is the new grade 3, which is Grafting Celestial Judiel, yes. So, first skill is, at the beginning of your right phase, you may counterblast the card that's the same name as any of your Celestial units. If you do, you choose a card from your damage zone, call it to rearguard circle, and it gets plus 3k until end of turn, and then put the top card of your deck into your damage zone face up. So it doesn't check for a trigger like Rescue would, or like the Stride actually does, but it does simply just put something face up in old Angel Feather fashion. And then the second skill is, when your G unit with Celestial and its original card name strides, you may Soul Blast 1. If you do, search your deck for 1 card and put it into your damage zone face up and choose a card from your damage zone and heal it. So that's quite good. You just like toolbox for anything. Like that's really ridiculously nice actually. Like being able to toolbox for anything. It doesn't even have to be Celestial actually. You can just actually toolbox for anything. That's ridiculously good. Like it makes sense in the Celestial context, but when you look at it in the broader scale of things, this is actually just bonkers. Like if any other archetype got this, it would be like borderline insane. So it's actually super good for a Celestial, or just for any card really. Like the fact that it's a Celestial doesn't really have much to do with it, it's just that good. Up next, Celestials did get a new starter, which is Ruhiel. So when your unit with Celestial in its card name is placed on Vanguard circle, whether it's ridden or stridden, you may put her into the soul. If you do, countercharge 1, and if you have a face-up card in your damage zone with the same card name as that card on your Vanguard circle, draw a card. So you don't have to use her immediately when you ride anything. You can wait until that moment comes when you like have the same name, because then you also not only countercharge 1 but also draw a card and you fill up your soul with this girl, so that's also quite good. And that's actually it for Celestial, so only 3 new cards, but all of them are actually really good. So honestly, like, it's looking quite good for Celestials too. They kind of got that little bit of that Tavas treatment, they're just very overlooked as always. And finally we have the generics. First of all is the heal trigger. This time does have Celestial in the name, so it's nice that they reference the archetypes. It makes me want to hope that the Dimensional Police one will be a D-Robo, that'd be pretty cool. And then we have a really nice new G-Guard in Parashell. Almost a Paracel, but not quite there. During the battle that your opponent's Vanguard attacked, so only when the opponent's Vanguard attacks, if the number of face-down cards in your damage zone is 2 or more, this unit gets plus 10k shield. Then, if the number of face-down cards in your damage zone is 3 or more, it gets another plus 10k shield. So 35k shield for nothing, but has to be used against the Vanguard, is definitely solid. Doesn't unlock sadly, but it's okay. We're getting there. We're almost there. There's a reason why I kept the generics for the last. So next up we have Kind Care Sartael. Really good card in my opinion. When your card is put into your damage zone during your turn, you may put her on the bottom of your deck on GB1. If you do, Soul Charge 1 and choose a normal unit and a trigger unit from your drop zone and return them to your deck and shuffle your deck. Really cool because you can return heals, crits, like whatever you feel like, plus stuff like no CLs, like grade 1 no CLs. So that's really good. Plus it's a +2 count to your deck, because technically it's like +3 going in, but you soul charge 1, so it goes down by 1, so it's a +2 to your deck count. Don't forget that Angels deck out like crazy, so this is really good. No CL likes this. I also play this in my Gabriel just a couple times, because if you have 2, then you can kind of not really loop it, but you can make sure that you won't deck out, so that's definitely quite good. So like I really like her. I think she's super good, and she's generic, so like why not just play her? And then the second last card is Dr. Radlas. So it has a damage zone act. You just turn it face down, aka counterblast it, to give one of your units plus 3k. Nothing too amazing, and definitely nothing compared to our final card, which is Nutrient Angel, which is an actual godsend of a crit. Act GB1, counterblast 1 and put her into the soul. Choose up to 2 cards in total on your circle or in your damage zone and turn them face up. This is insane because you either countercharge, well, you technically countercharge 1 because you counterblasted 1 for her skill, but you can also unlock 2 units, or you can unlock and undelete at the same time. How amazing is that? Like, this is one of the clans that struggles so hard against the Link Joker matchup, and just like that, with a simple crit, it's just like, haha, just fuck off. Like Link Joker does nothing now just because we have this amazing crit. I mean, obviously they can still profit off of the unlocks, but you're kind of giving up that unit anyway, but at least you have that circle now to actually use it. So this is a really nice way to finish off Angel Feather. Like overall, I feel like it got a lot of strong cards. It's just a different playstyle now, but I feel like it still can't really keep up with what the rest of the meta is asking for, unfortunately. And that's actually going to be it for this set breakdown. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut it a little bit, well, not short, but I'm gonna have to cut it close soon because my laptop is running out of battery. But honestly, I think this set is super good. The ZRs are a little bit annoying that they exist and that they're so hard to get, but we'll see how things pace out over time. I really don't think they'll be that important in the long run of the game itself. But speaking of other cards, Thavas got some amazing stuff, and it's honestly like one of my favorite things to come out of this set. I think Yasuya is kind of slept on. I think Gaia is strong, but not as slept on. Overlord is obviously overhyped, but like in a good way. Like it's got the hype, but it can justify that hype because it's actually that good. And then Angels are kind of like iffy. I think they're good enough, but not good enough to like win a regional, but good enough to like top shops and stuff. And then Gold's Gurgwit is like Gurgwit is meh in my eyes, but I think Garmor is looking pretty good after this set. And then Spike Brothers did get some new stuff, but I don't think they got quite enough to push them a bit further than what they were already at. But with Hell Heart 8, honestly, it's not that bad. But make sure to let me know what you guys think of the support in this set, as well as what your favorite parts were as well. So let's get a little bit of a conversation going, but that's gonna be it for me today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.